Welcome to the Double Dribble podcast with Dubin and Dakil. That's Jared Dubin, author of Last Night in Basketball newsletter. Make sure you're subscribing to all that good stuff. He's been cranking out season previews team by team. Make sure you're reading all that fun stuff. And then during the season, you're going to get nothing but great content and insight from Jared on Last Night in Basketball. I'm Mo Dakil, former video coordinator with the Clippers and Spurs, write for Bleacher Report on occasion. You can also check out my videos on Offside. Make sure you're signing up for the wait list to join our app once that becomes available, because that's where I'm going to be putting out a ton of videos. And folks, I'm getting warmed up here. I'm about to start cranking out videos, Jared, left and right. Videos, everywhere we go with all that fun stuff. Jared, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm just waiting for the release of that Offside app. You know, I signed up for the wait list, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and I'm just waiting so I can start doing some videos too, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be some fun times with all of that stuff. Jared, before we get started, we're gonna continue, and finally we've come to the conclusion of our division previews with the Northwest Division. But I gotta ask you, Jared, what's your favorite drink?
It's scotch. Unfortunately, LeBron and I apparently do not have the same favorite drink. But what's your favorite drink?
Huh? Just water. It's that simple. But most of ice cold water, best feeling in the world when you're thirsty. That's my favorite drink. Most importantly, though, is we know LeBron's. It's Hennessy, because he spent, he gave us this whole thing of got a new big announcement to make, showed a picture of the second decision, all that fun stuff. It's like, I don't know how many people actually thought he was retiring, but there was definitely a number of questions of like, well, what's his decision? And we all kind of were like, what is this going to be an ad, or is he retiring? And all that stuff. And then, of course, we get the news. What were your thoughts first, Jared, when you heard that he was going to make this sort of like have this decision? And then what was your thoughts when you found out what it was?
Very briefly, I thought, oh man, is he really going to announce the retirement tour right now for like 30 seconds? And then I pivoted to not, is it going to be an ad, but what kind of ad is it going to be? I very quickly saw, because people said that he did the same thing last year for a Prime Day ad, so that I thought, and we were talking about this on text, like, it's going to be an Amazon Prime ad. And then I saw this morning it's a Hennessy ad, which I didn't actually watch the ad, but once I saw that, I was like, all right, that was all for nothing.
Yeah, I'm actually... Look, more power to him. He can basically stop the NBA whenever he wants, and we'll all pay attention to what's going on in terms of this stuff. But I'm also annoyed. Like, he's using this power for not good. And I don't, it's just like, come on, man. Like, you're just wasting all of our time, all this hype and all that stuff. But I want to throw something else at you that we didn't really talk about in our run-up to the show. So I'm literally throwing you a curveball in this moment, not LeBron related. Did you see the Shams report about Giannis Antetokounmpo and his desire? He had interest in possibly being a Knick, and it actually even led to possible trade discussions.
I did see that this morning. I thought that the most relevant portion of the report was that the Knicks never thought they were serious about trading him, and the Bucks never really had any interest in trading him. And I mean, I would imagine they never really had any interest in trading him specifically to the Knicks, who don't really have anything to offer that would be of interest to the Bucks. So I think that it was more laying the first stage of the groundwork for this is an earthquake coming next summer, and he's starting to angle for his preferred destination, even though the Knicks will still next summer basically just have, Karl-Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson in a sign and trade, and then 2 first-round picks and 2 swaps. Those are going to be the assets that they have, and there are going to be other teams with better assets, but Giannis with only 1 year remaining on his deal and in the position to sort of try to force his way to where he wants to go. We've seen the Bucks in that situation before, where they were the team that spoiled a superstar's preferred destination, but we don't know how they'd handle it with their own guy.
For starters, if I'm the Knicks, you have to take that seriously, and I understand you have to take that all just by the pure fact of I'm sure Rob Pelinka did not think Nico Harrison was serious at first, right? Like you have to really milk that all the way. I don't know what the trade would look like. I don't even know if you could make it happen in any sort of machination. I don't know how you pull that off. But you can't take it as like, oh, yeah, let's just have a couple of conversations or whatever. No, you have to be fully aware of, like, this is an actual possible thing. Because my thing, Jared, is the window's closed now for the Knicks to get Giannis, even if that's where he wants to go. Because now everybody else heard that around the league and was – because, like, all summer it was, look, he's not going anywhere. He's not doing anything. It's all that. Like – this isn't going to go anywhere. There's not actually going to be a trade. Now this is out there, and now everybody's going to be like, oh, well, let's just make sure we have assets ready to go. Sure. And I'm going to say this, and this is probably going to be a little bit more controversial, not intending to be, but I actually think Giannis is a tougher piece to trade for, not in just the equity you have to give up, but what you have to do to your offense. Because listen, the pairing between Dame and Giannis should have worked, and it didn't. And I'm putting that more on Giannis than on Dame. And I wonder, like, when people talk about Atlanta should do it and he should pair him with Trae Young, I don't know what would make you think that would work when it didn't work with Dame. I don't know what would make you think Giannis will work with Brunson when he didn't make it work with Dame and all of that. Like, there's an element of, like, I'm not sure he's a clean plug in and boom, guaranteed, at least conference finals. Now, I'll say this. You still make the fucking trade. Like, you still do it and figure it all out. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be saying, like, we should, a lot of machinations are going to come out and ideas. Just saying, he's not as easy as a plug and play guy as I would have thought before the Dame trade.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, obviously agree, you do it anyway and figure it out later. I think that the reason to maybe think that it would work out differently with whoever it is, Brunson, Trae Young, whoever, wherever he gets moved to, as better than it did with Dame, would be because he saw how it didn't work with Dame and the reasons why it didn't work. And maybe he commits himself more to making it work in the ways that it was supposed to.
I'm only going to say you're banking on self-awareness that I don't think, and I don't blame him, and I don't like superstar athletes generally do not have in that way. And that's just my opinion of it and all that fun stuff. That's kind of the latest news, right? There wasn't any other news we really needed to hit.
Not that I can remember off the top of my head.
All right. Well, let's go straight into the Northwest Division. Let's knock out our division previews, man. This is it. Last one. It feels like the last day of school, except really we're about to start a whole season of things.
Yep, we can start with the Denver Nuggets. Significant moves this offseason: traded Michael Porter Jr. and a future first-round pick for Cam Johnson, signed Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., traded Dario Saric for Jonas Valanciunas, convinced Jonas to stay in the United States. Over under 53.5 wins. Mo, what are you excited about when it comes to the Denver Nuggets?
I'm excited about the depth around Jokic. This is honestly, I think the best team he's been on, really, in the Jokic era. When you just look at the fact they finally have a backup center in Valanciunas, I think it's an upgrade with Cameron Johnson over MPJ. Not that Cameron Johnson is a better skilled player than MPJ, but I think he's going to do more of that stuff that MPJ wasn't able to do on a consistent basis. Like, we've seen Cam Johnson do this with the Suns when they got to the finals. I think he's going to fit right into that role. I love the Bruce Brown pickup. I love that they added Tim Hardaway Jr. I think Jamal Murray's going to have even a better season this year than he did last year, where he was really kind of shaky throughout the course of it. I just love this team's depth. I'm very excited about this team. I'm very excited about their depth. And again, I can't stress this enough, man. Having a backup center for this team is massive. For how long they've struggled with that, where every time Jokic would go to the bench and those on-off numbers were so staggeringly divided. Massive win for the Nuggets there.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. We've talked about this before. We had them as one of our, it was them, the Rockets, and the Hawks, I think, that we thought had the best off seasons. And I still feel pretty good about that. I love the upgrade to Cam Johnson. I obviously love the Bruce Brown signing to do basically what he did for them 2 years ago. I really like the Tim Hardaway Jr. pickup, like you said. And then, trading Saric for Jonas. Saric did nothing for them last year. Jonas Valanciunas, one of the better backup centers in the league, a guy who you can sort of run some second unit offense through in the post. He's just going to absolutely brutalize backup centers down there. He's become a guy that when you leave him wide open can make some jumpers. He's a decent enough passer. He's going to block some shots when you get him at the rim. He's not going to move all that well in space, but he'll block some shots when you get him down there. He's a very good rebounder. Like you said, having a real legitimate backup center who won't kill you when he's on the court is such a massive change for these guys that it's hard to overstate what kind of value that's going to bring to them. My thing is just Cam Johnson. I agree with you. He is an upgrade on Michael Porter Jr. I wrote about this in my Nuggets preview. He can do all of the things that Porter did at basically the same level. He worked off of off-ball screens basically at the same level, at the same rate that Porter did last season. He had the 10th most off-ball screens in the NBA. Porter had the 14th. He worked off dribble handoffs at basically the same rate as Michael Porter Jr. did. Only Cade Cunningham got more handoffs last season than Cam Johnson did. Among the 45 players who got 300 of them or more, Johnson was 11th most in points per direct handoff. That's all according to the Genius IQ Second Spectrum stuff. Michael Porter was a few slots behind him, and that's despite the fact that Porter played with Jokic. You can do all of the same stuff that you were doing with Porter, and you get it in a guy who is pretty close to the same size. He's like 6'8" as opposed to 6'10", but has really good length, and he actually gets the shot off faster than Porter does by about 0.2 of a second because Porter jumps so high on his shot that it takes him a little bit longer to get the shot off. It's harder to block because he jumps so high, but it takes him a little bit longer. And he's so tall
to begin with, right?
And he's 6'10". He releases it from so high above his head, and he jumps among the highest of any guy in the league when he gets the shot off. So he has among the highest releases. Johnson's obviously a little bit lower, but he gets the ball off quicker. That's going to be really good. And he just does way more off the dribble than Porter does too. He had the best season of his career working off the dribble last year, whether creating for himself or creating for others at the highest rate that he has so far in his career. I think he's a better defender than Porter too. He's not as good a rebounder, which is important, but he can defend more guys. And, Aaron Gordon obviously is still going to guard the primary front court guy, but it's a little bit better at that second spot, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't say enough about it. I think he's just he's going to have so much fun playing with Jokic. I would have so much fun playing with Jokic. It's just not it's just going to be great stuff. I think there's a lot of fun with what we can have there. Jared, what are you least excited about for the Nuggets this year?
There's nothing that I'm not excited about for them, so I'll just say the thing that I'm worried about is that they still play in the same conference as the Thunder. And I know they took them to 7 games last year. That Oklahoma City team is going to be better this season. I think that last year's version of that team was the worst version that we're going to see over the next few years, and you still got to wrangle with that beast over the course of hopefully a 7-game series that we get in the second round or the conference finals or one of those 2 series. But that's the thing that worries me is they might be the second best team in the league, but the best team is still in their conference.
I'm fine with that just because this is how rivalries are built. Yeah. Right? This is how you get that type of stuff where everybody's been complaining. This is how rivalries will be built in the NBA. It's through battles like this in the playoffs. It's through animosity, and it's always within conferences. I don't think it works when it's a long way from the Lakers and Celtics and that stuff. I think when you're going to see this team 3 or 4 times in the regular season before the playoffs, there's a little more hype in it. I do not have that concern because I think that's actually good for us. I think it's good for the NBA. I think it's good for the Nuggets. I think it's good for the Thunder. I think it's good for everybody that we have this kind of dynamic there with that. I mean, I guess what I'm most concerned about is Jamal Murray. I know I expect him to have a better season this year, but again, there's no guarantee with that stuff. And the beauty of it is he probably doesn't have to carry as much of a load with that. Like he has to be the number two option and all that, but I think he can ease his way in. I think he could take a couple nights off with the talent that they have, where the collective group can carry him for the most part, and he can kind of find his way back in it. But I'm always going to be a little bit worried about him, in that sense, health and everything, and making sure he kind of starts out. I want to see him start out the season on fire. It's not really been his MO. He's been kind of a slow starter, but I want to see it like off the bat, like let's go right away. It's funny adding Bruce Brown, like continuity's kind of there. It's really only adding the three new guys of Cam, Jonas, and Hardaway. So it's like, but I also think it's an easy team to play with. A lot of it is just cut. Jokic will find you.
Yeah, and those guys all slide into familiar roles too. Like having Cam Johnson is not going to be that different than having Michael Porter Jr. Having Tim Hardaway is not going to be that different than having Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Jonas is a little bit of a different thing because it allows you to play differently when Jokic isn't on the court. But that's where you needed something different. Yeah. And obviously Bruce Brown can just do the same stuff that they had him do a few years ago. Like, we know what that looks like. He's going to be sort of the backup point guard that can also fill in at any of the non-Jokic and Murray spots when one of those guys doesn't have it going on any given night, because he can play basically any role that you ask him to, especially when Jokic is on the court. Like, we already know what that is. We know how it works. We know why it works. And then the other guys that they brought in all fill familiar roles from that title team that they didn't really have for the last couple of years.
Yeah. So, Jared, predictions?
Yeah, I got them going to the conference finals against the Thunder. That's all I want to see this year is that series in the conference finals.
I am predicting, it's what I was concerned about, but I'm just going to go out there and make my prediction. Jamal Murray's finally going to be an all-star this year.
Ooh.
I know it's actually really difficult, you think, for him to make it when you just think about how packed the West is. But I'm willing it into existence. I think he's going to start.
Aren't they now doing USA World stuff? So it might be a little bit different for that reason too, because there's going to be 2 U.S. teams and a World team, I think is what they said. So only 8 international guys. Obviously, Canada counts international, but there are so many good international.
I mean, Shea already is one spot right off the bat.
Shea,
like
that's Giannis, Luka, like that's half the team already.
Okay, shit. No, I'm taking it back. I totally had forgotten that we've switched the All-Star format for like the umpteenth time to all that. So I'm going to take that back as my prediction. He's probably never going to make an All-Star.
The thing is, make 2 teams of players, one from the East and one for the West, have them play a basketball game, and if people don't like it, who cares?
Yeah, but pretty much. Plain and simple. Okay, so my prediction is they are going to finish with the 1 seed in the West.
Woo! That's spicy.
I'm going with that, and we'll get to my reasoning why when we get to the Oklahoma City one. But this team has the talent. I think they're going to be. I don't think people. I'm going to keep hammering this all year, and it's going to annoy the hell out of everybody, right? And again, if it annoys you, and I forgot to mention this earlier, 5-star reviews. Just you can tell me what annoys you. Besides my sniffling, I've read those comments enough. The fact that they have a center means Jokic gets to rest a little bit more often, right? And it's like, with Valanciunas, and if they even really want to go small, they could throw Gordon out there and let Jokic rest even a little more. Like, they don't have to wear him down all season. And I think they could stay, I think, get a net even. And I think they'll be in a good position. So for me, I'm going with them as the 1 seed in the West.
If my prediction about the Thunder comes true and the Nuggets are still the number 1 seed in the West, that would be highly impressive. But yeah, I agree with you on the center thing. Like, if he can go back to playing 33 minutes a game instead of the 37-ish that he played last year, that's significant.
It's massive. It's just massive. All right, let's move on to the next team. Where are we going?
Next team is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Significant moves this season. Re-signed Naz Reid and Julius Randle, lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker in free agency, drafted, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing this name correctly. Apologies if I'm not. Johan Berenger. Their over-under is 49.5 wins. Mo, what are you most excited about / looking forward to for the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Man, there's only one answer. It's Anthony Edwards. Like, just what does he add to his game this year? He brought the three-point shot last game off the dribble. I think Zach Lowe was mentioning it, talking about the low post game kind of becoming his next.
That was a report from Shams.
Okay. And so that's becoming a thing. Like, I'm just excited for more Ant. I think he's one of the most exciting young players we have in the league. He's definitely it's a fun personality to watch. I think it's not. I'm going to take a cheap shot at somebody, and I apologize, but it's not bland like Jason Tatum, right? Like, he's just going to say his stuff. It's going to be a little bit crazy. He's got more personality, more fluidity to his stuff, and he's just more likable. I'm just excited for Ant, man. I just want more Anthony Edwards.
On the personality stuff, did you ever watch Friday Night Lights?
Yes.
The comparison I always make for Ant is to Smash Williams.
Yeah.
He just has the same personality. He's got the same smile, like the smiling confidence that he has reminds me so much of Smash. If you haven't watched Friday Night Lights, first of all, incredible show. Go watch it right now. One of the best portrayals of a marriage in the history of TV between Coach and Tammy Taylor, and also of just like high school football and culture and how like your town can revolve around high school sports. It's just an incredible, incredible TV show. And I think if you watch it and see Smash Williams, it will remind you a lot of Anthony Edwards, not just because of the athletic prowess, but also because of the personality.
Let me chime in with just two quick notes here. One, I got one of the best compliments from a friend of mine when that show was running. I
remember you told me this.
If you're ever going to, he goes, if you ever make it as a coach, I said, I feel like you're going to be like Coach Taylor. And I was like, oh man, like I really kind of love that feeling. He was my favorite. He is America's football coach on because of that show. The other thing, season 2 got very weird, but otherwise stay with it. Stay with it. It was the writer's strike. There was a whole lot of weird stuff going on. Just stay with it because it's fine. It gets back on track, but it did get weird in season 2. We'll just leave it at that. I just have to give that important caveat. And plus, somebody compared me to Coach Taylor, so I'm always going to bring that up anytime you mention Friday Night Lights.
It absolutely did get more than a little bit weird for parts of season 2. But the thing that I'm excited about is, and I had the very specific thing also of Anthony Edwards, but I'm very excited about that report that he's working on adding a low post game this year. Last year, the whole report was about how he was determined to come back as one of the best three-point shooters in the league. He led the league in threes made and attempted. I don't doubt that he could do basically anything he puts his mind to when it comes to bringing an improvement to his game. I think he is like built in a lab to have and I know it's sort of sacrilege to say it, but to have the, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant type of post game from a wing player. Like, that is the kind of player that he is. He has the size, he has the strength, he has the quickness. I think it's going to be good for him operating down there as opposed to the top of the floor at all times. Maybe a little bit less taxing on his body. He's going to be able to bully smaller guys when he gets down there, go right by bigger guys when he gets down there. Like, I just think the reporting on that, as opposed to just like, oh, I'm just going to work on my mid-range jumpers, I think specifically getting down into that spot on the floor is really exciting to me, especially because it typically takes guys like him, like in that mold of player, until their 30s when they're starting to lose a little bit of their athleticism before they decide, I'm going to make the move down here on occasion. To do it when he's in his early to mid 20s, I think is really exciting.
I think it's fun to see the development of this stuff, and everything you said is right on. Jared, what are you most concerned or least excited about with the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Just the ways that their offense can get bogged down because Ant is really the only guy that creates off the dribble from outside in. And like, I love Mike Conley to death. I'm the biggest Mike Conley fan in the league outside of probably John Hollinger. But at this point, he's a caretaker point guard who brings the ball up the court, gets you into your offense, and then is sort of an off-ball shooting threat. He can't play more than 24, 26 minutes a game. I don't know if Rob Dillingham is really ready for this yet. And if he's not, then all of a sudden you have an issue in terms of being able to create off the dribble. And I think that's part of why their offense can get bogged down at times, especially because Ant is not like guys like Shea or Luka or a few of the other best guards in the league, in that he's not a point guard by trade. He's someone who handles the ball a lot because he can do that, but he's not a point guard. He's not quite as used to making all of the decisions as those guys are, and he's therefore not quite as good at making all of the decisions as those guys are, and it can get a little bit dicey at times. And for that reason, their offense can get a little bit dicey at times, even as good as he is. And I do think that they need something else or someone else. Like, they need the absolute best that Mike Conley has to offer. They need Rob Dillingham to be ready. They need Julius Randle to have the decision-making and the passing that he showed in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, as opposed to the series against the Thunder. Like, they need all of that stuff at the highest level at the biggest moments, and I'm just not 100% sure that they can get 100% there.
Yeah, that's my concern too. I think the lack of another ball handler and playmaker, and listen, all respect to Mike Conley, although he was a Grizzly and I was a Clipper, and during those battles and those wars, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it anymore. I'm sorry. He's
at least off the dribble. Like, he can still shoot. He can get you.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
But he can't move as well anymore.
He can't move. It's actually a problem. You saw the blueprint of how to beat the Wolves in the playoffs, right? Just trap the shit out of Anthony Edwards, get the ball out of his hands, and let's see if everybody else can kind of create from it. Granted, it helps that the Thunder had the horses that they have behind those traps with everything, but I think it just shows you their weaknesses. They're so dependent on Ant creating for everybody else, and it takes away from his offensive game, takes away from his energy. You saw it in that game where he had to fight through all the denials and things like that, and then the times he just didn't have the juice to do it. I feel like this is a massive problem for them, and that's a huge concern of mine going into this season. So we're aligned in that one with all of that. So I don't even think we need to kind of keep beating that horse there. Jared, what is? Do you have more?
Before we go to the predictions, what do you think of guys like Dillingham and Terrence Shannon?
Well, we're going to go a little bit into my predictions then, so I'll just go into that stuff. I don't think Dillingham's ready for that role. I don't think Shannon is that role. I don't think that if that's the role you're going to put Terrence Shannon in, you're miscasting him, right? Like, I don't think that's his position. But I think Dillingham is just not ready for it. I think maybe in 2 years. See, I would have loved to have seen him get way more minutes last year as a rookie so that you can kind of start to develop that. They didn't do that. Fine. They started out bad. They had to kind of find their system and their rhythm and all that stuff. They can't start slow. Nobody can start slow in the West. I'll just stop saying everybody needs to start. Nobody can start slow in the West. You're going to put yourself in a hole. Terrence Shannon is my prediction, though. I think he is going to step up in place of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I like what he does. I think he's not going to be 100% Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but I think he's going to be 75 to 80% Nickeil Alexander-Walker and make it to the point that you won't miss him. I think defensively he's going to be solid. I think he's going to knock down just enough threes to kind of keep it. Teams are going to leave him open, but he's going to knock down enough. He's a career 35% three-point shooter. Look, he only played 32 games last year. His career is still at its infancy stage. But I think there's a lot of promise there. I think that was part of the calculus. Everybody was so mad that they let Nickeil Alexander-Walker walk away and re-sign Naz Reid. I think we argued about it on this very show. I still think it's the right decision because I think Shannon's going to step up into that role.
Yeah, I think that from the perspective of they prepared for Nikhil's departure and they didn't really prepare for Naz Reid's departure, I can understand it. And obviously having Shannon was the way that they prepared for that. I do think one minor concern too, by the way, is Rudy Gobert is going to be 33 now. What if he is a top 10 defensive big man in the league as opposed to a top 3 defensive big man in the league? All of a sudden you become a much different team if you're like the 8th best defense in the NBA as opposed to, a top 3 best defense in the NBA. that really ruins the theory of the team if you're not that good, if you're not like an apex team defensively. That said, I don't think that's happening yet. I am going to take the significant over on that 49.5 wins. I think they win in the the low to mid 50s games, and I think that they're going to be, now that Houston has lost Fred VanVleet, I think that the Wolves could push for the 3 seed.
Yeah, and I want to say this about the Wolves here. They kind of were like the forgotten team all offseason, as if they didn't make it to 2 Western Conference finals. I mean, there should have been a little bit more respect put on their name in the offseason. And I was just as guilty, too, with the Rockets, with Denver's, upgrades and things like that. Kind of just put them aside with that stuff. We had to put a little bit more respect on their name, I think, and I agree with you there. And I think, obviously, with the Fred VanVleet injury and things like that, I think that there's the prime position for them to get that 3 seed. Jared, where are we taking this next?
We are taking it to the defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. Significant moves this offseason. They drafted Thomas Sorber. They traded Dylan Jones in the second-round pick for Colby Jones and then waived Colby Jones. Re-signed Jalen Williams and A.J. Mitchell. Extended Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. Their over-under is 62.5 wins. Mo, what are you most excited about when it comes to the Oklahoma City Thunder? I think that we have the same answer here.
Yes. I'm excited. I want to see Chet Holmgren grow. I want to let the wings spread in that incredibly long wingspan. I want to see more offensive game from him. I want to see more of that stuff. We saw some of that stuff in the finals here and there, where he can catch on the perimeter, pump fake, drive down, get a dunk and things like that. I want to see his offensive game develop. I'm very excited to watch that. And I think that's where I'm at with what I want to see. Kind of know what Jalen Williams is for the most part. I do think he can take another step forward and take a leap forward. Shai's freaking unbelievable. Like, there's just not enough there's no words out there to really kind of do him justice, right? He's just unbelievable. But I think Chet can actually even supplant Jalen Williams in terms of being the second best player on that team. I just want to see the development. I want to see Chet Holmgren become Chet this season.
Yeah, J-Dub, I mean, you would think with a healthy wrist he could be even better this year, which is crazy because the guy just made All-NBA. He was he all defense? I think he was all defense, right?
I believe he was all defense.
He's unbelievable. He's a top, 15, 20 player in the league. He could be even better than that. But I agree. My most exciting thing is Chet Holmgren and specifically doing more on offense. I think he's a good shooter, 37, 38% from 3 in both of his seasons. I want to see if he can speed up his release. He has one of the slowest releases in the NBA. It takes him so long to get the ball off. And that's why, despite the fact that he's 7 foot and, is such a good shooter, he gets his shot blocked more than almost anybody. I looked this up. He was blocked on 6 threes in the playoffs alone, including 3 in the finals. When you look at the entire season, the league leader in blocked threes during the regular season had 16 of them blocked, and he had 6 blocked in 23 playoff games. That is incredible, and a lot of it is because of how slowly he gets that shot off. He was 190th in average release time out of 203 players who took 250-plus jumpers last year. Like, that is very slow.
Yeah, he needs to speed that up. That's definitely something. That's a great little stat and tidbit See, folks, come to the Dribble for these type of little tidbits. You're not getting that anywhere else.
Yeah, you can check this out on my Thunder preview as well. That's the free part of the preview is all about Chet and the ways that he can improve offensively this season. The other thing is just on the drive. He was 14th percentile in efficiency on the drive this season. Like, some of that is turnovers. He would dribble the ball into traffic. He would lose the ball. He would just go to places that he shouldn't really be going. Some of that is just like his gangly limbs. There are always, I think, going to be issues with the handle for a guy that's built like he is. But I think he has some stuff there. Like, when he gets to his spin move, either on the drive or once he comes to a jump stop, there's really good stuff there. He's obviously so big. He can finish with both hands around the rim. Like, there is more for him to unlock off the dribble, and I really want to see it happen.
Yeah, I'm there with you on that. What do you think? What is your biggest concern or least excited about with this Thunder team?
I would say that it's complacency, but I don't think this team is wired that way. Like, I don't see them having like a post-title malaise where they're not 100% locked in every single night. Like, that's just not the way the team is built, not the way it's wired. You look at all of the guys on this team and the way they play, the way they're wired, like, that doesn't seem, and that's like really the only thing that I could think of, except for maybe like injuries or possibly age-related drop-off specifically for Alex Caruso. But even if that happens, they still have Lou Dort and Cason Wallace. Like,
They're fine. They're fine in that sense. And I think I'm not worried about I would be shocked if this group showed up complacent, right? Yeah. This is a young, hungry team with everything. I would be surprised if they were one of these teams that were like, all right, we're good. It's not even like guys that are like, hey, I need to go get mine because J-Dub got his extension. Chet got his extension. SGA's got his money. I think they're kind of in a good position with their core and everything that they have going for them. I guess I'm least excited is the discourse that's going to be talked about around this team. And there's two in particular, right? It won't take long, but we're going to get back to the SGA foul merchant thing. It won't take long. It's annoying. I know. If you're listening on the podcast, I mean, Jared just put his head down in complete, utter disgust.
I saw something, by the way, before you continue on this, I saw something that he's like minus some odds to lead the league in free throw attempts by like a lot. He's never led the league in free throw attempts. He's led the league in free throw makes, but not attempts. And he's like somehow minus odds to lead the league in free throw attempts. I saw that on Twitter last week, and I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so that's one. And I'm also just not going to be I'm least excited about is like the swaggerlessness of this team and the discourse that will come from that as well. Not every team's going to have Anthony Edwards and have the fun personalities and whatnot with that stuff. Like, yeah, I get it. This team won the championship, and it was probably like the least swaggerless kind of group to have won in a long time. It wasn't like the most amazing stuff. But you know what? They're damn good on the basketball court. Their fucking swagger on the basketball court is pretty fucking good. I don't need to worry about that. And that's all I really care about. But I'm just not looking forward to the discourse that we're going to hear around this team.
They play with as much swagger as any team in the league, but off the court and like, I mean, are you surprised? Like, it's a team built in the image of the Spurs. You know, yeah. I'm not surprised that is the thing, but I am not excited about either of those discourses either. I guess one other thing that it could be both excited and not excited, the discourse around can they potentially repeat, because that's going to be somewhat annoying but also exciting to see them try to chase it. And it plays into my prediction. I think they are going over that 62.5 wins. I think they're going to push for 70 wins again because they're that good. They won, 67, 68 games last year, despite the fact that Chet played less than half the season. They were missing Isaiah Hartenstein for like a third of the season. Alex Caruso had his minutes aggressively managed. All of these guys are a year older, a year better. I think they're going to push for 70 wins again, and I think they're going back-to-back.
Okay. Well, I was saving for like championship predictions for our next episode, but thanks, Jared.
I've made no secret of this. I think I've said it on other podcasts.
Okay. I'm going to actually, like, they're going to hit maybe the over, but I don't think they're going to win 70 games. I think they're going to finish second in the conference, and it's because this reason. It has nothing to do with talent, skill, or whatever. Like, they are the most well put together, talented team, deep as hell roster. I think this is the season to experiment. I think this is the time to kind of experiment with the offense.
They already did that last year.
No, they really don't, Jared. If you really look at the way they play, honestly, it's all through Shea. And then when he's off, and then it's Jalen Williams. But I think this is the time to really experiment, put more offensive systems together and things like that. Really kind of have a little bit more of a bedrock to go to and this stuff, and take some of that. And part of this is Shea having to be willing to do this, but like, take some of it off of Shea's plate and let him kind of, let's find other ways in which we can kind of build. You have the blueprint. You can always go back to, oh shit, we need to make sure we win. Heavy Shea, you know what I mean? But like, I feel like they're in a good position where they can really kind of experiment, and I'd actually like to see them do that. And I think by doing that, you end up maybe dropping a couple of games that you don't necessarily, you wouldn't normally in that instance. But I think that's their situation there. I think that's what we'll see a bit more this season. I mean, look, if we want to see Chet grow, if you got to put water in that plant, that's putting the ball in his hands. That's giving him more opportunities. That's different than what they've done offensively than they've done in the and that takes a minute. That doesn't just boom done. I would snap, but I can't actually snap. But like it's not done that quick.
I just think
it's
they
like
win those games anyway. We also saw them do some of that, like in the finals, where they would have J-Dub handling the ball and have Shea sending in the screen and things like that. Like they've shown plenty of versatility. Is it the apex versatility that you had from like the 2014 Spurs? Obviously not quite yet.
I disagree with you. They've shown a lot of that. I haven't. I've watched a shit ton of them, and I just haven't. Besides that wrinkle, where all of a sudden it took the finals, and I get it. They didn't have to, but it took the finals. And it took them almost losing and going down 3-1 in Game 4 for them to decide to go to that. Like, I just haven't seen that that versatility the way. And other people agree with you, Jared, but I just haven't seen it. And I think we can see more of that in this coming season.
We can definitely see more of it. I just think even if they go and try some more stuff, they're going to win the games anyway. They're so talented.
They might.
They even win the games when all of these guys sit out, and it's like Aaron Wiggins dropping 35 on everybody. Like.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens again, but like I think we're in that situation, and again, Denver has improved so much. Yeah. I'm just really high on this Denver squad. They've really kind of risen up. So I think part of that in the experimentation, which is good for them. It will be good for them in the long run. I mean this in a good way. You have the luxury, and you're right, they still might win these games, but you have the luxury to get the fuck around a little bit to find out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the situation there.
They also, I guess you're specifically talking about the offense. They experiment plenty on defense, obviously.
Oh, yeah, no, defense is, defense, that side of the ball is fine. It's offense. That side of the ball is fine.
Yeah. All right, next up, we have the Portland Trailblazers. They drafted Yang Hun-Sen, picked up a 2028 first-round pick. In the trade, they bought out DeAndre Ayton, traded Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday, signed Damian Lillard, presumably to play next year, not this year. Their over-under, and I looked this up again, is only 34.5 wins, which, given the discourse around them, I guess is a little bit surprising. Mo, what are you most excited about when it comes to the Portland Trailblazers?
I mean, it's now diminished a little bit. If you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have been excited for Scoot. Because it's excited and more interested in wanting to see that. But now he's going to start the season injured. It's going to be a bit of a issue in that sense. So I'm just going to lead into the full fun. And I want as much Yang Hansen as we can possibly get. That's all I want. That's what I'm excited about.
I'm excited, man. He straight up said there was like I think it was in the Players Tribune where he was like, I modeled my game after Nikola Jokic. I would like to see someone try to play like Jokic, I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Is he going to be able to do it? Nobody can really do it.
Not like Jokic's level. But I think the excitement, there was palpable excitement for this kid at Summer League. And I also understand some of it was like, the Chinese media really came in and was really kind of excited. But there was genuine curiosity and excitement in the crowd. And you've been to these Summer League games before, Jared. He'd make a play. You would just hear the whole crowd go, ooh. Like, there was, like, excitement in it. I just want to watch that. Like, honestly, like, I would have been, again, if Scoot was healthy, it'd be a different answer. It'd be more serious. I'd be a little bit more in that regard. But, like, I was just excited. I'm excited to just see that.
He is a very interestingly talented player because obviously you don't really see guys like that from that position. And I'm excited to see him try stuff, figure out what he can get away with and what he can't get away with. So that's going to be really interesting. My thing is I want to see if the defense that they had in the second half of the season can carry over because they were, I believe, they were 24th in the NBA in defense before the All-Star break and then 4th through the rest of the season. I did my lead of the preview was about this, where like what is the legitimacy of the defense? And actually, in the first half of the year, they were 11th in opponents' expected field goal percentage, but opposing teams overperformed by the third largest margin in the league. And then in the second half of the season, they were 10th in expected field goal percentage, but opponents only outperformed by like 0.6 percentage points. So the shot defense that most of their second half surge defensively was built on was, I think, maybe a little bit more legitimate than it might seem on the surface than when you usually get defenses that swing from one extreme to the other when it comes to shot defense, because the expectation that they were setting in both halves of the season was the same, but they got a little bit unlucky in the first half of the year. The question I have is whether they can keep forcing turnovers at basically like a Thunder-esque rate like they did in the second half of the year, which nobody can really do that. And like even after adding Drew Holiday, I don't know if you can really do that.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm very curious to see if their defense carries over to this season, right? Like if that was real or not. Because like the one thing about the second half of the NBA season that makes it really difficult to decipher these things is like, okay, who were they playing against? Was it a lot of tanking teams at that point, or the last 2 weeks of the season were they playing teams that already had their seeding set up? Like there's always a lot of that. There's a lot of, you have to kind of really kind of dive into those things. Like for example, everybody talks about Toronto's second half of the defense last year. None of that is their guys that play. Like it was all guys that don't actually. It was not Ingram. It was not Barrett. It was not Barnes. Like quickly. Like it was all their guys that like they're bench guys. Like so that
Even
number
when
is a
Barnes
little
and quickly were playing. They were playing like 18 minutes and not playing down the stretch of games.
right. So it's like that number is kind of like, all right, I can't believe that number because it's like that's not the guys who are going to be playing regular rotation minutes to a large degree. With this team, it felt real. The defense did feel real. It felt like Toumani Camara, like, is the real deal, defensively. Like, this is a dude that could at some point be in the running for all defensive player of the year. Wemby's in the league. As long as Wemby's healthy, nobody's winning it. I think there's a lot of that stuff. So I feel like the defense can carry over in a large portion in that stuff. And that's before they even added Drew, right? Like, I felt like the defense was real. So I'm with you in that area.
What are you worried about, least excited about, not looking forward to about this team?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what their offense is going to be. It obviously takes a hit now with Scoop being out, but like, what is their offensive game plan going to be? How are they going to build it out? Who are they playing through? Who's running everything? Is they got decisions to make. Once Scoop gets healthy again, it's not like, Scoop might be back by the beginning of November. And stuff, but it'll take a minute because it's a hamstring stuff to get back in the full flow. But like, is Scoot running offense? Is it Shaedon Sharpe? Are you running it through Denny Avdia? Like, how is your offense? And the thing about their offense was it was very one note. It was one action, and then it dived into just straight iso ball. And that wasn't fruitful for them. So I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah, I had more specifically like the point guard play. Like we've talked about this a bunch of times where I just think when you don't get good point guard play, you're kind of drawing dead offensively in the modern NBA unless you have one of like the apex guys. Like the Nuggets can get by without, even though they do get good point guard play, they would be able to get by without good point guard play because they have Nikola Jokic. There are other teams that would be able to get by without good point guard play because they have that guy that is an offense unto himself. The Blazers obviously don't have that, and I just don't know if they're going to get good point guard play. There's been like a 6-week stretch in his career where Scoot Henderson looked like the guy that people sold us on coming into the draft. It was like the 6 weeks before the All-Star break last year, and other than that, he hasn't looked like that guy for the significant majority of his career. Is he ever going to be able to be that guy? Is he going to be able to be that guy with any degree of consistency? Can Shaedon Sharpe be more consistent? Can he get back to the jumper that he had in his first season as opposed to what he had in the last 2 seasons? Is he even going to be on the team beyond this season? Is he going to get traded at the deadline because they decide they don't want to re-sign him? I think that there are a lot of questions specifically about their guard play. Even though you have Drew there, offensively, Drew is not going to be a guy who's driving your offense at this stage of his career. We saw that in Boston. He's like a complementary player, 4th, 5th guy in your offense at this point in his career. He's not really the guy that you're going to put the ball in his hands and have him direct your offense. And they don't really have that guy. Like, Avdia did a pretty decent job being a facsimile of that guy, but he's not an engine of a top 10 or 15 offense in the league. And I don't know where they get that type of play from.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment too. Like, the point guard play is such a big part of it, and I think that's part of the reason. That's part of the stuff I wanted to see from Scoop.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I want to see. That's why it sucks that he's going to start the season injured, and like hopefully he'll be able to come back and ready to roll. Sometimes these injuries, when you start the season that way, it can derail a young player. Happened to him his rookie season with the sprained ankle. It can derail you.
A moving train.
Yeah, so, I hope they kind of figure that stuff out. Jared, what's your predictions?
I feel like we probably have the same prediction, but I got this team making the plan. I think they're going to be one of the 10 best teams in the West. I think they could get to maybe the 8 or 9, probably more like the 9 or 10, but I think they're going to make that play-in tournament.
I think they're going to fight for a play-in spot. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say they're going to make the play-in. I'm not sure if I'm there. They're going to be in the running for it, but I don't know if they'll necessarily make that leap into the play-in tournament. I think that's the thing that's going to be the hardest part, and I will be curious to see how it kind of fills itself out. They missed it last year by 3 games. Not a lot. Like, that's something I think they'll be in the running for it. I'm not 100% convinced they get to it. So that's kind of my prediction. It's just a tiny step below yours.
I hear you.
Let's take us to the last team of our divisional previews.
Honestly,
we made it, folks.
It's fitting. It's fitting that the last team is the Utah fucking Jazz. Significant moves this offseason. Drafted Ace Bailey, traded up for Walter Clayton Jr., bought out Jordan Clarkson, traded Colin Sexton and a second-round pick for Yusuf Nurkic, traded John Collins for Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a second-round pick, traded Reggie Lewis Jr. in 2 seconds for your guy George Niang. Their over-under is 18.5 wins. Mo, are you excited about anything when it comes to the Utah Jazz this season?
I am excited that they cleared out the guards so that we can make sure Ace Bailey and Clayton get their hands on the ball, get touches, just throw them into the fire. I just want to see them get a lot of opportunities and just see what you have in them. Like, that's really what I'm excited. I'm not gonna lie to you. We can fly through this team very quickly.
Yeah. So I had Ace Bailey also, and we talked about this after the draft. I wasn't the biggest fan of him as a prospect, specifically because I think there's kind of a narrow path to him becoming like a player that contributes to winning at a high level. But for the Jazz, who don't have a player who can be the best player on a team, even though the path is very narrow for Bailey, I think the upside is you have like a real guy that can be like your second best player or something like that, and you can take a shot on the incredibly narrow chance that he becomes that guy, because he does have this on-ball skill set where he can create any shot in the world. Is it going to be a good shot? Is he going to make that shot? Maybe, maybe not, probably not. But that type of skill set is rare, and I'm okay with the Jazz taking a shot on it because they need that upside bet more than they need a sure thing. So I just want to see what the hell he can do with the opportunity.
Yeah, that's just give him the reps is all I want. Is all I want. What are you most concerned about or least excited about this team?
Watching them, like
That's a
I'm gonna have to watch this team a bunch of times this season, and it is going to be an absolute chore. And I'm not excited about it. I'm not looking forward to it. It's not going to be fun. I'm not going to have a good time. They're going to be probably an affront to basketball. And, for guys like you and me that nerd out on really good basketball and then have to watch this team go through the motions and, like, we're going to get some bad guard play. We're going to get some bad wing play. We're going to have good center play with Walker Kessler. And we're going to have, some pretty good combo forward play. Hopefully some better play from Larry Markkinen than what he put on the floor last year. But other than that, it's going to be really ugly. I know Will Hardy's a good coach. I know he runs some interesting stuff, but the talent level is just not there. It's going to be really ugly watching them, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much not excited for the tank job that they're going to put in. Like, I don't have much else to say. This is going to be a tank job all the way. That's it. That's all I got. I don't have much else to say. You touched on it. I'm going to be watching them. It's going to be frustrating. I am going to be paying attention to the young guys. I'm going to look out for my guy G-Wagon. But, like, it's going to be a rough watch with this team, especially when they're tanking and trying to kind of get everything kind of – they're trying to build a team, and they're trying to get draft picks and doing all that stuff. So let me ask you, what's your prediction?
I've got them finishing with one of the two worst records in the league. It's going to be them and Washington with the worst records in the league because that's where they both want to be.
I have, and this might be more just hopeful on my end.
You know what? I'll say one of the three worst because the Nets could be in there too.
I'm going to just say straight away, I think Lauri Markkinen and Walker Kessler will not finish the season as part of the Utah Jazz. Kessler has
no extension for Kessler.
No extension for Kessler. You know why? I'll tell you what it was. There was weird stuff like a year ago where like all of a sudden he was like parking in trade rumors and things. And I was like, didn't make any, it made me wonder, like, do they just not like he wasn't playing a lot of minutes? Like are they down on him in some way after that? He had a really strong rookie year. And I was just, I don't anticipate an extension for him. I think Markkinen's value is going to go way up. If you watched him with his Finnish team in the Euro basket, he looked great. If he kind of starts the season strong, I think you'll see his value go up. And we know Danny, if he can get the deal he wants, he'll move anybody. So I think that's going to be the thing. I think this team will move those guys to continue to get assets. And I think that's my prediction for the Jazz, is that both of those guys, at least one of those guys for sure, will not be on the team at the end of the season. And I'll be very annoyed 10 minutes after we post if we get a tweet of some agreement reached. And that was done to spite me. I'm just telling you, folks.
Yeah, Danny will move anybody if he gets his price, but he's also not going to move his price. So it's very difficult for anybody to come to an agreement with the Jazz. But, yeah, I mean, if either of those two guys gets traded, it's something that could significantly affect the playoffs, I think, because both of those guys are good players.
All right. That's it for our division preview. But now's for the fun time. I'm shocked. This is an upset. How you're not wearing any Miami gear after you guys come off with the FSU win. You're to 2 in the rankings now?
Back up to 2. We were 2 before our bye week last week, dropped down to 3 after Oregon won last week. But this week, we played Florida State, beat the hell out of them for most of the game, and then made it more difficult on ourselves than.
Why do you do that? Why does your team do that?
It's every single time with this team, every single time with Mario Cristobal teams. Like, it was the same way when he was at Oregon, Always making it more difficult than we had. Like, we were up 28-3, and I was like, all right, it's a party in Tallahassee. Like, CJ Daniels is mocking the Seminole war chant directly into the ABC cameras. Like, it was unbelievable. Malachi Toney, again, 7 catches, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had a 50-yard touchdown wiped off the board by an illegal shift penalty that was kind of iffy. But, I mean, the guy should have had 8 catches for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, I don't understand. He turned 18 like 10 days ago. The guy is unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
Carson Beck, 4 touchdowns. Like, they stacked the box to take away our run game, and we were just like, all right, we're just going to throw it over the top of the defense and destroy you. And then, of course, in the fourth quarter, we let them score 19 unanswered points. But you know what? We won the game. We beat Florida State. That's all that matters. State champs, 3-0 against the other Florida teams for the second year in a row. Got another bye this week and rest up for Louisville, number 2 team in the country. Could argue we should be the number 1 team in the country, us or Ohio State. We're very good. And the only thing that's going to beat us is doing the kind of stuff that we've done late in several of these games where we make it more difficult than we have to on ourselves.
Yeah, you guys are making it harder than you need to. You guys are really good, though. Like, give a lot of credit. I'm not a fan of Cristobal because of his organ days and things like that. So, I mean,
he is not a good game day coach. Like, straight up, not a good game day coach. The entire theory of Mario Cristobal is he recruits well enough that the fact that he's not a good game day coach doesn't matter. And that's what's been happening so far, and that's what it looks like this year so far, at least.
I will say this. They do look – the defense looks dominant, and that's the thing.
Ruben Bain's the best player in the country.
Yeah, and should honestly really be getting a lot more consideration for Heisman than he is. SC had a bye, so I didn't have to I had to live with that stupid Illinois loss for an extra week, but I hope the team's fired up. We got a big one this weekend, Jared. Big one. We got Michigan at the Coliseum. That's not a big one. We will talk. I'm going to give UCLA a little love in a second, which is like the rarest of rare for me. But we got Michigan coming into the Coliseum. I'm actually even going to be tailgating, which is going to be a rarity. I don't do that too often. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. I really hope we have to win this one, because after that, then we're on the road at Notre Dame. And then, I mean, we lose this one, and then we go to Notre Dame. I mean, there's a possible 3-game losing streak, and I will not be okay. I will not be okay. Let's just leave it at that. I tease this real quick. Shout out to UCLA. 0-4 UCLA. Beat down Penn State. Penn State went from they were 5th or 4th in the rankings to unranked.
Something like that, yeah.
They get, and it's funny because it's like, and my buddies, my USC football chat were like, holy crap. I'm like, UCLA's up 27-7 at halftime. Now, they give Penn State some credit. They came back. They had a chance. Didn't come through. I still don't understand what happened. I don't know if you watched it. The last 2 minutes of the first half, their play calling from Penn State was so conservative. You thought they were winning. It was like they were just trying to milk the clock. And the worst part is you still got a field goal at the end of that possession before the half ended because of how bad they were at all that. It was amazing. Flat out amazing.
All I saw from that game was the hair from the offensive coordinator, who was I guess he's Rick Neuheisel's son, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I saw the incredible
Jerry Neuheisel. He was a quarterback there. Let me put it this way: he was carried off as a player in a game off the Rose, and then they carried him off at the end of this game. I've never seen the offensive coordinator, and I'm looking at the interim coach going like, "Are we gonna give him any love?" But anyways, that was a lot of fun, just in the sense of college football funness. That will be the nicest thing I'll say about UCLA this year. Otherwise, it's still an incredibly stupid school, and I hope they go 1 for 11 now.
I will not say any nice things about Florida State at any point this year. So don't be looking out for that, because it's not going to happen.
All right, folks, I think that's it for us today. First off, make sure you give us a review, leave 5 stars. Make sure you give us a ton of love. Make sure you're checking us out on the YouTube channel. Where do they find the YouTube channel, Jared?
YouTube.com/@DoubleDribblePod. Find us on Spotify, Apple, everywhere else you get your podcasts. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Subscribe for your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your daughters, sons, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever else. Every single device that you could find. Please do that for us and check us out.
Yep. And make sure you're checking out the newsletter, Last Night in Basketball. Make sure you're checking out my content on Offside. And thank you for listening to the Double Dribble Podcast.
See y'all.
Double Dribble. Dribble.